Nahâra was a leopard hybrid, but that was far more than just a genetic detail. Her skin shimmered with tones of gold and bronze, a living canvas stretching from her shoulders to her hips. Her body was marked with faint, mesmerizing spots, dancing as if alive whenever the light touched them. These were not simply patterns of a species. They were remnants of an ancient blend, the union of savagery and grace. Her beauty wasn't something to simply be seen. It was felt, deep in the instincts. And now, this being, this primal elegance made flesh, was on her knees, in the heart of pain, on the banks of the Danube. It was a starless night. The heavy silence of the night was broken only by the breath of a woman soaked in pain. The moaning echoing from behind the wooden walls was not just the sound of a mother, it was also the echo of a generation's decayed hopes. Nahâra was kneeling. She was gripping the edge of an old bed with both arms. Her body trembled. Sweat trickled down from her neck, ran over her chest, and left the salt of pain on her lips. It was her 11th birth, the first, Arya. The following 9 either fell silent right after being born, or faded within hours. Nahâra had buried them all, with her own hands, and now she stood once more, at the edge of the same cycle. The labor had lasted 15 hours. Her vision was blurred, each contraction, a bolt of lightning crashing down from her back to her legs, and yet she remained standing, because pain had not destroyed her. It had made her real. The room was dim. The full moon watched from outside. The candle flickered, but the storm inside Nahâra was far greater. And then, with one final scream, as if tearing life out from within her, she collapsed. Silence. The sound that followed was not a cry, nor a cheer, just a rasp. Deep, brief, a sound that proved life, but hid the identity. Nahâra slowly collapsed to the floor. Her eyes closed. She had fainted. Arya ran, without hesitation, barefoot but strong-hearted. She knelt beside her mother, checked her pulse, and she heard it, a faint breath. Nahâra was alive, and the baby was whole. His hair was golden, his chest and back covered in fine fur. His arms were thick, his fingers like stone. His eyes were still closed, but even so, he looked determined. Arya held him, as if she'd been waiting her whole life. Then, she turned to the door, pressed the baby to her chest, and ran outside. It was cold and quiet, but every pair of eyes were fixed on one man. Toran, he who always stood tall, the strong one, the silent rock. His gaze was locked on the window. Ilkar tried to approach him, but stopped, because this silence deserved reverence. Then the door opened. Arya appeared, a baby in her arms. Her eyes were glowing, and only 2 words fell from her lips. He's born. He's born. They're both safe and strong. Toran stepped toward her with heavy strides, took the baby, lifted him toward the moonlight. The light danced through his hair, and Toran felt something he hadn't in years. He took the baby, entered the house. He approached Nahâra. She was still unconscious, but she was alive. Toran leaned down to her forehead, placed a kiss on her sweaty skin. "My life is yours." And he laid the baby next to her. He hugged Arya tightly. They tried not to cry. He left Arya beside her mother, because this joy belonged to her too. Toran slowly closed the door and stepped outside. He opened his arms, tears in his eyes. He turned to Ilkar, raised his voice. "He's strong." They embraced for the first time. They laughed. Everyone laughed and hugged each other in joy, but quietly, because Nahâra, that night, had not just given birth to a child. She had given birth to a future. Verona, a small town tucked beside the Danube, forgotten between the green and the earth. But it was no ordinary place. In these lands, time bowed as it passed, because here, willpower still lived. As the world decayed, as the great cities turned to ruins, as neon lights dimmed to silence, Verona held on to its quiet. No towering walls, no clinging to lost technology, but hearts still beating with the rhythm of hands and soil. Around 6,000 souls and 6,000 stories. They lived by the river, by the land, by their own labor. Trade was rare, barter was common. Technology had been forgotten. Peace with nature had been rebuilt. For hybrids, Verona was a haven, because here, no one ever asked, "What species are you?" Everyone was accepted, just as they were born. But such freedom never came without a price. The borders were always watched, dangers from beyond always known to lurk. And the people of Verona, they didn't celebrate out loud, because this town was a tradition that rejoiced in whispers. Toran stood by the window that morning, unmoved by the sun. He wasn't watching the sky. He was listening to breath. Nahâra's breath. He wore his favorite pants, dark, thick, leather, worn like armor. His boots didn't make a sound, but that silence couldn't contain his strength. His upper body was bare, because a bull hybrid never hides his heat. His shoulders were draped in coarse, dense fur. His chest, a shield. His muscles, iron beneath skin. His beard, a thicket carved by resolve. And his horns, short, thick, and deeply rooted, just like his character. Few words, deep meaning. His black hair was cropped short. His ears nearly vanished, a quiet flaw carved by nature. Toran carried a savage elegance. His presence could be felt even behind closed doors, not just Nahâra's partner. He was Verona's pillar, a shoulder to lean on, a force to stand behind. Toran quietly left the room. His footsteps didn't even echo on the wooden floor, because this silence was respect. He pulled the door shut. Outside, the celebration preparations continued, but inside, something sacred was unfolding. Arya came to her mother's side. "You need to get ready," she whispered. Nahâra smiled. Arya brought a cloth. She wiped her mother's face, gently loosened her hair, combed it with her fingers, and braided every strand, one by one. She washed her, helped her into clean clothes, wrapped a vest around her, covered her shoulders, then placed a kiss on her forehead. "We're ready now," she said. This wasn't just cleansing, it was a vow, a passing of an era. For years, she'd received tenderness from her mother. Now, she was returning it. Nahâra didn't move, but her eyes filled with tears. They didn't fall, because her daughter's love had taken their place. Outside, the preparations were done. The streets were decorated with colorful banners and little lanterns. Fires were lit in courtyards. Long wooden tables filled the square. At sunset, people came from every corner of the town. Hybrids of all kinds, gathered with joyful smiles. Some brought instruments, some brought food, some brought homemade drinks. Everyone brought something to the night. No one tried to stand out, because tonight, Verona celebrated as one. At the heart of the celebration, 4 people sat side by side: Nemea, Ilkar, Toran, and Nahâra, all of them sharing quiet smiles of happiness. Nahâra was tired, but her grace had not faded. In her eyes, a glowing light for her newborn child's health. Just then, Ilkar stepped out in front of the crowd. His steps were strong. The crowd instantly fell silent, because this town knew how to listen to him. Ilkar took a deep breath and spoke. "My friends, Verona has found the hope it has long awaited. Nahâra and Toran have brought a strong son into this world." The crowd erupted in joy. Their voices soared into the sky. Ilkar paused, then continued. "This child has shown us that the future is still unwritten. Fate is in our hands. With his arrival, a light has been born in every heart. So today, dance, laugh, because this joy belongs to all of us. At that moment, Toran stood. Nahâra rose beside him. Toran took a moment to look over the square. In his eyes, the pride in his heart met the town's hope. And then, his powerful voice filled the night. "My son's name is Vireon." The crowd cried out in unison, "Vireon! Vireon!" Toran turned to Nahâra, kissed her forehead, and their hands found each other. Together, they looked at little Vireon. In their eyes, a deep and peaceful pride. The music started again. People embraced, danced, laughed, jumped, because now everyone knew Vireon's name. Still just a baby. But with his birth, a new hope had awakened in Verona, and tonight was the celebration of that new beginning.